Hi, this is Matt Lindsay. These are some of the things that I've learned over the 2 years in my program through Concordia to achieve my master's in education and technology. Some of the key learning concepts that I'll be taking away from this course have to do with things that we sort of have already always known as teachers, but for me have been kind of elevated to a new level, such as learning never stops, whether you're in or out of the classroom. And for me, all the conversations we had about the virtual classroom and how effective it can be in this day and age have really inspired me to think about how I can connect that with my students in first and second grade. I'm going to be looking for ways to challenge myself to create these sorts of experiences for my students because these days, truly, the learning doesn't stop once a student leaves the room. There are so many ways that they access information now outside of the four walls that I teach within. Um, and so it's my responsibility to make sure that I am connecting them with them in that world as well. Also, the concept of pencils and papers to me really seem dated, and they sort of represent uh, uh, the age of um, the student's past as opposed to what a student's future can look like. You don't necessarily need to have them in your classroom anymore to learn. With devices like iPads and other tablets and Chromebooks and other laptops and things like that, and students have information at their fingertips that they can come to in a matter of seconds, and then they can use that information to create content on those said devices. So really, the concept to me of looking at things in a new way and getting rid of the old and looking towards the new is a really important one. Also, similar to what I said before, teaching with the future in mind, not with today. Teachers get really bogged down in the curriculum, in what's expected of them, and for me, these past 2 years have really helped me to think about what it means to teach with the future in mind. Just reading about and talking about some of the things that are going on in other classrooms in the digital world has really kind of opened my eyes to the fact that we cannot plan for today. We cannot plan in the same way that we've ever planned before. We have to plan with the future in mind. We have to plan thinking about what's coming, what's going to be valuable to our students today when they go to college, when they go into the workforce. Another piece to this digital savvy student experience is that as a teacher, you can never quit looking for the latest and greatest with regards to what's out there with technology in mind. Um, I think that the conversations that I had in this with this cohort helped me keep thinking about the fact that it is so overwhelming to know that things are changing at such a pace these days that we've never really had to deal with. And so it's even more so our job as educators to keep looking for what's happening, what's new, what's going on, so that we can stay relevant and that we can keep our students' attention and desire. Um, some of the learning strategies that I'm going to be implementing that have been kind of inspired by this 2 year process is one of them in particular would be stop going to the computer lab. Um, Probably in the first year of this 2 year program, I was inspired to stop going to the computer lab and try to incorporate all of my digital experiences in my classroom using iPads, Chromebooks, and laptops and desktop computers that are in my classroom. I think it's important because the computer lab, much like the pencil and paper, represents the old way of doing things. The idea of coming up with 30 minutes of time that I race to the sign up sheet for every day and trying to have 5 days in a row so that I can get a computer project done that is at the end of a curriculum, or excuse me, at the end of a project that we're doing, is really something that to me doesn't heighten what digital learning needs to be. It needs to be something that's happening all the time throughout your day, whenever it needs to. So to be hindered by signing up for a 30-minute time slot is not productive. It doesn't do anything for a student. And so my goal is to stay out of the computer lab. I'd also like to plan for use, not for play. And that's because when you have devices like iPads, kids can easily come in, especially in the primary world. They can come in and look at it as something that they use to play Angry Birds, as opposed to something that they use to connect with a student in another classroom, or something that they use to create, a summary of what they just read. Um, so my strategy is that I'm going to be incorporating the iPads as skill set builders within as many of my lessons as possible. And it really it's a matter of sitting down and planning which app I want to use for which lesson. Um, but making sure that I keep the iPads in the hands of the students throughout the day. Also, I need to remember that a strategy of mine needs to be that these tools are used for enhancement. They're simply not there to be exchanged for something. They are not going to take the place of a flashcard. They need to be something that takes the learning that is happening and brings it to another level. Something where you can, go to the internet, find an image, bring it to, pages on your iPad, and build it into a summary or a timeline or something that the students have been talking about in class, as opposed to just using it as like a babysitter. Um, Finally, the strategy that I want to implore the most is going to be learning from others. Um, and again, this is something that teachers have known about, talked about for years, but I feel with devices such as iPads or other tablets or Chromebooks and whatnot, these days students can learn so much just by connecting with students in other classrooms, in other schools, in other districts, even in other parts of the world. So being able to find content, share content uh, from people in different places is something that I really want to emphasize, and I'm going to be keeping that in the forefront of my mind. Two things that I've really kind of taken about away from this program when it comes to myself. They're similar to what I've already talked about a little bit, but I think deserve to be repeated. Um, Focusing on the kids and their needs. I think teachers in general, and myself included, are are expected to do a lot. We get stuck because there's so much that we need to get done in a day, in a week, in a year, before a test. And so I want these 2 years to help to inspire me to keep my focus on kids and what their needs are. I think the discussions that we've had have really heightened an awareness inside of me that I need to teach differently than I ever have before, simply because within the last 5 years, the dynamic of a student learner has changed so dramatically. And so, more so than ever before, teachers need to be tapped into what are the needs of students. And I think that wasn't necessarily a shortcoming of mine, but I think it's something that, unless I stay focused on it, it will be. Um, Also, staying connected and current, something that is going to be so hard because, as I mentioned before, there are so many different tools out there, so many different pieces of software, so many different experiences that within a short amount of time have come about and are things that students are using that teachers haven't had time to practice with. So it's something that, again, before it wasn't really a weakness of mine, but unless I stay really focused on what's out there, what's going on in the technological world, unless I keep going to different assemblies or speakers or staff development opportunities, I'm going to become irrelevant. So I want to stay focused and stay connected and current with what's out there. Again, I've learned that it's impossible to be on top of everything. with regards to technology because it is such a fast-paced world, but I need to stay focused on trying my best to stay connected. Finally, this program has helped provide a forum for me to gain a deeper understanding of what is happening out there in the world of technology and education. I was able to really think about the resources available to me, the role educators play now in shaping digitally literate learners, and what needs to be done to meet my students' needs where they're at and take them to the places that they need to go in order to develop into a highly functional member of our digitally savvy society. Thank you.